All right. So if I had to make a top 5 list of my favorite actors of all time, in no particular order that is, I would have to go Wesley Snipes, Denzel Washington, Jack Black, Keanu Reeves, and Adam Sandler. So with that being said, I would like to do my second episode of the Retrospectacle on my favorite Adam Sandler movie of all time, Little Nicky.
Hallelujah. I mean, that sucks.
Welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in to the second episode of the Retrospectacle, where I'm going to give you my retrospective of one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies, Little Nicky. Alright, so before we get into that, I would like you to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this. You won't miss them because they're going to be good. It's like this one will be. Alright, so before we get right into the summary and what I think of the movie, let's talk about Adam Sandler a little bit. Alright, so I think Adam Sandler is universally known as a great guy, but also for me personally, I think every movie I've seen of him is funny as hell. And the branches of movies from his crew, I think that's safe to say he has a specific crew: Rob Schneider, Steve Buscemi, Kevin James, David Spade. All of those guys branched off and did some awesome things. There's more, but like I was saying, Adam Sandler has awesome movies. Everything I've watched about Adam Sandler, I've laughed and I enjoyed. But the critics don't seem to think that so much. And I say that due to the fact that I just looked on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think the majority, if not most of all of his movies, are rated under 40%. Hell, Little Nicky is rated at 22%. And I guess that's horrible in the critic world, especially on Rotten Tomatoes. But I don't think the regular Joe looks at an Adam Sandler movie or his specific audience and care about the acting or I guess the details of the plot or whatever. People just want to laugh. So I guess there's a technical aspect of how Rotten Tomatoes grade movies. We don't give a fuck. Sorry. But enough of that. Let's get into Little Nicky. Little Nicky is a uniquely comedic Adam Sandler film released in the year 2000, where the Earth was supposed to be doomed. Directed by Stephen Brill and co-written by Adam Sandler, Stephen Brill, and Tim, I don't want to butcher this, Herlihy? Let's say Herlihy. Now, Adam Sandler really brought out a lot of notable actors in this movie, and if I named them all, we'll be here all day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rattle off all of the top cast members, and that's how we're going to do that. Sue me. All right, so we have Adam Sandler, who stars as our protagonist, Nicky, who is the son of Satan, actually the third youngest son of Satan. We have Tom Lister Jr., aka Tiny from Friday fame, as Cassius, the oldest son of Satan, and we have Rez Ifans as Adrian, the middle son of Satan. We also have Patricia Arquette, who plays Valerie, which is the love interest for Nicky. Robert Smigel, who voices my favorite character, Mr. Beefy the dog. Peter Dante and Jonathan Lugren, who plays Peter and John, which I guess they play themselves. Makes sense. This movie also has some dope special appearances too, such as John Lovitz, who played the horny bird in the beginning of the movie. I can't get over that. Freaking Quentin Tarantino, who plays the priest in the street. Carl Weather, who seems to play his same character from Happy Gilmore. Pretty sure that's what that is. Reese Witherspoon, who plays Little Nicky's mom. And Rodney Dangerfield, who plays Lucifer. Rodney freaking Dangerfield. So yes, this movie is awesome. So now before I get into any plot points in my summary of the movie, I want to give a spoiler warning to anyone who hasn't watched it. And if you did watch it, thanks for watching it. Yes. I'm sure Adam Sandler appreciates it. Yeah, let's get into it. Little Nicky opens up with a hilarious cameo from John Lovitz having a picnic in a tree. So plot twist, he's not only having a picnic in a tree, but he's actually a peeper having a picnic in the tree waiting for a single mom to get home so he can spy on her. Yep, that's such a John Lovitz thing to do. And this character's not actually given a name, so for all we know, this could be John Lovitz playing an exaggerated version of himself in his cameo, which makes sense. Anyways, so after being caught and pretending to be a bird, which is such a John Lovitz thing to do, he is then shot out of the tree and falls to his death. But this doesn't end our cameo with John Lovitz. He has a lengthy fall through hell, where once he falls through the gates of hell, he's introduced to the gatekeeper of hell. So after being shot, falling to his death, going to hell, John takes this pretty well after all. But meeting the gatekeeper, this leads into the funniest quote of the movie by far. After this lengthy cameo with John Lovitz, we are finally introduced to our protagonist, Little Nicky. So after rocking out for a bit, he is interrupted by his dad's right-hand demon, who is actually played by Blake Clark, and seems to be an uncle figure to Nicky. Nicky has been summoned for a meeting with his dad and his brothers, but before this meeting, we are given a heartfelt but funny as hell conversation between the two. So this conversation actually gives us some insights on Nicky and his history with his brothers and his father. So it turns out that his brothers aren't too nice to him. Actually, I think Cassius actually hit him in the face with the shovel, which gives him this speech impediment and has his face going sideways. So I guess he was a handsome guy before this. And they also tease him by saying that his mom's a goat and their mom's a dragon. But it's messed up in so many ways. But by watching this movie, it kind of gives me this comedic male take on the Cinderella story. You'll get it. You'll get it. Due to his 1,000-year reign over hell coming to an end, and having to choose which of his 3 sons will take his place as ruler of hell, with Adrian being the most devious, Cassius being the most cruelest, and Nicky being, well, the kindest, Satan assembles his sons to tell them that they are not yet ready to succeed him and that he will continue ruling hell. Angered by their father's decision, Adrian and Cassius decides to escape, travel to Earth, and create their own hell by possessing religious and political leaders in all places, New York. So with this escape, they actually freeze the entrance to hell, preventing more evil souls from entering. This is a problem for Satan due to the fact that it causes him to deteriorate into nothing. Stanley the gatekeeper informs Satan that this happened and that he was overpowered by Adrian and Cassius. So for his punishment, he has hilariously grown breasts on his head, and he's given to Satan's father, Lucifer. Now, if you're as confused as I am, it's understandable because I thought Satan was Lucifer and Lucifer was Satan, but it doesn't matter because it's an Adam Sandler movie and Rodney Dangerfield plays Lucifer. Now being too weak to stop Adrian and Cassius, Satan has to send Nicky to Earth to capture his brothers. And in order to capture them, he sends Nicky with a silver flask that captures anyone who drinks from it. So with this arrival to Earth, Nicky meets a possessed talking bulldog named Mr. Beefy. Now, like I said, Mr. Beefy is actually my favorite character in the movie, and it is his job to actually help little Nicky navigate Earth because it's his first time ever going. And he actually helps him find an apartment, teaches him how to eat. But everything else, he does a horrible job at it because Nicky dies over. And over.
Adrian! Cassius!
And over. And over again. Actually figuring out how to navigate Earth properly, Nicky actually makes friends in Todd, John, and Peter, and he makes a girlfriend in Valerie. So not forgetting the real reason he's on Earth, Nicky finally encounters one of the brothers, Adrian, but fails to capture him and scares Valerie away. Nicky then observes Cassius on television possessing the referee of a Harlem Globetrotters game. During this game, Nicky is actually able to trick Cassius into drinking from the flask and he's trapped inside. The following day, Adrian possesses the chief of the New York City Police Department and accuses Nicky of mass murder, by imposing Nicky's head on the body of Scarface. This somehow works and has the whole city of New York riled up and after Nicky to turn him in. So after escaping, Nicky has Ty kill him so he can actually go back to hell and ask his father for advice. However, Satan is almost completely deteriorated and can barely hear Nicky due to the deadline of capturing Adrian and Cassius approaching an end. When Nicky returns to Earth, him and his friends devise a plan to capture Adrian in the subway. Being the smart guy he is, Adrian discovers their trick. He then grabs Valerie and jumps in front of a moving train. Acting quickly, Nicky jumps down, pushing Valerie away from the train, leaving himself and Adrian to be killed by the train. Arriving at hell just minutes before midnight, Adrian is able to take over hell by pushing his father aside and sitting in his throne. So now I know you're wondering, well, where the hell did Nicky go? Not hell. He's actually in heaven because of the sacrifice he made to save Valerie, where he actually meets his mom, who in fact is not a goat. Now my real question is, how did Nicky's mom, who's apparently a human, now an angel, have a baby with Satan? Think about that. So while meeting his mother, she tells him that he can defeat Adrian easily by using the inner light that she gave him through birth. And she gives him a mysterious white orb. In the meanwhile, after taking over hell, Adrian somehow bridges the gap between hell and earth and rises through Central Park with demons and everything else hell has to offer, causing chaos all over New York. After returning to Earth, Nicky confronts Adrian in Central Park, where they battle, and Nicky seems to have the upper hand at first, but Adrian is able to outsmart him, and they were both pulled into the Silver Flash, where Cassius stayed pretty much the second half of the movie. After a brief brawl in the Flash, Adrian appears to win the battle by transforming into a bat and locking Cassius and Nicky inside. However, Nicky escapes the Flash and shatters the orb, causing Ozzy Osbourne to appear. Ozzy Osbourne grabs Adrian, bites his head off, and spits it back in the Flash. With Adrian and Cassius captured, Nicky proceeds to save his father. So in order to do this, he has to be killed and sent back to hell. But the only problem is, if he dies, he goes to heaven. So he covers Henry Winkler in bees and have Valerie to kill him, giving Nicky the opportunity to arrive in hell just in time. Satan is saved and regains his body, and afterwards he shoves the Flash that Adrian and Cassius is captured in up Adolf Hitler's ass. So that's the ending of Little Nicky, but not totally, because at the end they give you an update on each character. So John and Peter actually won the reward money of $25 million, and they bought Led Zeppelin's old plane, and it crashed and they died and went to hell. Now they reside in Little Nicky's old room. Mr. Beefy married and impregnated a rat, and now they have rat and bulldog babies. The gatekeeper and the huge ape that was caressing his head breast also had babies. Yeah, Zachary, Nicky, and Valerie's baby was kicked out of daycare because he turned some kid's milk into goat urine. Yeah. And finally, Valerie accidentally struck Nicky with the shovel and fixed his jaw disfigurement, so he's normal now. Little Nicky. So that is Little Nicky, and that is why it's my favorite Adam Sandler movie. I think you should watch it, and thanks for watching the second episode of the Retrospectacle. I got more coming every week. I'm going to try to get it coming every week. This came not the week after Blade, but a couple weeks after. I apologize. We'll do better.